There are four types of epiphysis. So what is epiphysis? The ends of the long bone is called as epiphysis. Out of the four types, the first type is called pressure epiphysis, wherein the ends of the long bone, due to continuous pressure, they change the shape and they become rounded in outline. This is called as pressure epiphysis. Best example for this is the upper end of the humerus, the upper end of the femur, which is rounded in projection, which is called as the head of the humerus and head of femur. That is the example of pressure epiphysis. The second type of epiphysis is traction epiphysis. Due to the pull of the muscles, the ends of the long bone will get some projections. Like for the upper end of the humerus has got one bigger projection on the lateral aspect called as greater tubercle, and one smaller projection on the medial aspect that's called as lesser tubercle. These projections are forming elevations which are called as tubercles. So that is called as traction epiphysis. In the femur, the example is greater trochanter and lesser trochanter. So we dealt with the pressure epiphysis, we dealt with traction epiphysis. The third variety of epiphysis is called as Atavistic epiphysis. Atavistic means these are the bones which were the separate bones in lower animal, but in us humans it has united with the neighboring bone like a parasite. Best example is the coracoid process of scapula. In avians, the birds, the coracoid process is a separate bone, coracoid bone, but here it is a projection from the upper border of the scapula. So that is an example of atavistic epiphysis. In the feet near the ankle we have 7 tarsal bones, but in evolution before we had 8 tarsal bones. The one tarsal bone has united with the posterior aspect of the talus. That is called posterior tubercle of talus. That is also an example of an atavistic epiphysis. Moving on to the last one, that is aberrant epiphysis, wherein the epiphysis is expected to occur in all the metacarpal near the head of the metacarpals, but for the first metacarpal it is occurring near the base of the first metacarpal. So this is somewhat abnormal, right? So all are expected to come near the head, the epiphysis, but here it is occurring near the base. So this kind of epiphysis is called as aberrant epiphysis. So we dealt with four types of epiphysis: the pressure, traction, atavistic and aberrant epiphysis. Pressure epiphysis example, upper end of humerus, that is the head of humerus, head of femur. Then traction epiphysis example, greater and lesser tubercle of humerus, greater and lesser trochanter of femur. Then we move on to atavistic epiphysis. We moved on to that. Atavistic example, the coracoid process of scapula, the posterior tubercle of talus. Last but not the least, aberrant epiphysis, wherein all the epiphyses are arising in one direction. The base of the first metacarpal, the epiphyseal plate will occur. So that is aberrant epiphysis. Thank you. If you like the video, kindly subscribe, like the channel.